Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for being here tonight. We're having a little bit of technical difficulty. I think this is something that is stagnant with operating over the internet. We are always running into these problems. Now, good night again. My name is Deontay Livingston. I wasn't supposed to be your host, but when you're called, you just have to do what it is that you have to do. Tonight, we are all here with one aim, and is to discuss our mental health. And this is something that really have taken the stage over us operating, under the pandemic. A lot of mental health issues have come up. Some of us would have been, aware that we are now troubled with mental health. I know, so we're living in a Jamaican society. Most of us here, I hope that we're Jamaican. And if we're not Jamaican, then, we're still trouble with it because the world we are going through the pandemic nonetheless. So I do believe that this conversation is one to be had, and I'm so thankful to the New Jamaican Foundation family for hosting such an event. So 13 of us are here on the chat right now. If you know, or Jenna says she's not hearing, if everybody's having the same problem, not hearing me, let me know. Let me know if it is that you're not hearing me well. Okay, wait. Give me a second. Let me know if it is any better now. I want everybody to hear me. Jenna, you're hearing me? Let me know if you're hearing me, Jenna. Where Jenna gone? You guys hearing me clear now?
I can hear you, but you're a bit away. But I mean, I can hear you clear,
Okay.
Yeah, man.
Love that, love that, love that. As I was saying, I was issuing thanks to the New Jamaica Foundation family for hosting such an event. I really and truly believe that is an event that we need. As of now, most of us university students will be going down into doing our final
time. So any advice that we can get, we need it right now. As I was saying, it's 13 of us here, 14 of us here. Share the link to your friends, have them come and join if you know that they are going through a period that they will need information coming from this session. I implore you guys, send it to them. They understand your auntie, your uncle, everybody can benefit from the session that we are about to have. Now, we are here gathered under the moniker of the New Jamaica Foundation, and I would want for us to know what New Jamaica Foundation is about. I am a part of the New Jamaica Foundation. I'm the regional director for Region 2 of the foundation, but I would want us to all have an idea of the general scope of what the foundation is about. And as such, I'm going to be inviting Mr. David Salman, who will come to us now, and tell us about New Jamaica Foundation. Over to you, Mr. Salman.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you very much for the introduction, Livingston. It is a privilege to be here and to welcome all of you to our mental health seminar being held today. This event is an event that came out from the initiative of our policy team, and they thought it would have been prudent to go and highlight mental health during this very pivotal moment. So my responsibility today as executive director for the foundation is to give an overview of the New Jamaica Foundation. So the New Jamaica Foundation is a youth-led organization which is designed to promote sustainable youth development. We were established in 2019 and we have made significant contributions in different ways. So for example, through our Meet the Leader session, we facilitated events and trips to Parliament where young people could be able to actually interact and ask their ministers potent questions. This is one of the initiatives that we did under our policy branch. We would have also had our contributor series where young people could actually share their views and it would be published in the papers. On the charity pillar of the organization, we would have done initiatives like host our exam review sessions that were held this year. That was coordinated by Mr. Rowan Small and Mr. John and Miss John and Davy, and that was brilliantly done. We'd have also made donations to a family who unfortunately lost their home to fire as well, and we'd have been doing a number of different regional activities. So this is just one of the activities that we have been, we are embarking on. So I welcome all of you here. I encourage you to be involved, to be engaged. This is your organization. You can contribute ideas. So welcome. I'm happy to be here. Thank you all for attending. And without further ado, I'll hand over back to our moderator for today, Livingston.
Thanks for that, Mr. Salman. That was amazing to hear and witness, to know that youths can come together and accomplish all that we have accomplished together. Big up on yourself, the New Jamaica Foundation team. We've been a one, and we know that there's more to come. Now we're here tonight, to hear from a very renowned speaker. But one thing with me, I love to give away things. And I was told that there are some credit, that we can, give away. And from my things, me love give away things. From me, it come from, love to give it away. And the New Jamaica Foundation says, the New Jamaica Foundation persons behind this event is telling me that there are some credit here that I can give away. So I am supposed to judge. I think I'm getting the privilege as the moderator to judge the answer and see who would have winner come up with the best answer to the question. And the question is, so you have to interact with me now to get the credit. It's not just typing alone or anything like that, but you have to talk to me. The question is, what does mental health mean to you? Is it the same as happiness, or is it simply the absence of mental illness? I think I'm going to just cap it at the best answer. What does mental health mean to you for a credit? Let me hear you. So nobody in the call where mental health means something to you? Somebody must in here where mental health means something to you guys. Do not let me call you the name on the internet, please.
Okay, good night, everyone.
All right, Natalia, take it away.
Yes, for me, mental health is simply one's psychological state in a given moment. It can be good, it can be bad. However, when someone has a bad psychological state for a prolonged period of time, this can develop more chronic conditions or mental illnesses. So to me, it's just something that everyone has. We ought to take care of it just as much as physical health. And for me personally, it is something that I am constantly working on maintaining and keeping healthy as a student.
Love that, Natalia. I saw, was it Leonard Mason? So yeah, and just now, let me hear you.
Oh, yes, mental health. Good night, first of all. To me, mental health is basically the well-being of your mind. Just like we take care of our body, you should take care of the well-being of your mind, make sure you're emotionally intact Remove yourself from anything that drain or allow you to think negatively. You can practice many things, exercise, yoga, do many other activities to take your mind off anything bad, to ensure that you have a healthy mind and improve your mental health, in my opinion.
Yes, man. Yes, man. Love it. Love it. Great answer. Great answer. Like family food. And we're seeing Justin Dawson in the chat saying mental health is taking care of our emotional or psychological well-being. It looks at how we think, act, or feel. So those are three beautiful answers. I don't think I don't think I'm going to leave it up to myself to decide who had the best answer. So I'm going to ask the let me see. I'm going to ask David. David, who you thought had the best answer?
That's a difficult one to say, Livingston. I believe that the answers that we heard were equally brilliant, and that I think both persons are entitled to some credit.
Well, then you hear it here. You heard it. You heard it. So both of you guys just reach out to Rena Robinson on the chat to get your number so you can get your credit. And while you are at it, my name is Deontay Livingston and I use Digicel. So if you are a Digicel user, you can, help me out in that regards. Deontay Livingston, Region 2 Director of the New Jamaica Foundation, and I use Digicel. I repeat, I use Digicel. Thank you very much. Thank you. Right. So, as I said before, we are here tonight. I keep on saying tonight to have a very, very serious conversation. And as of now, 16 of us on the call, and I want us to explore ourselves and explore our minds as best as possible to unearth everything that we need to unearth in this conversation. And we don't know, probably walking out of here, we might find that we can create better life choices, better life traits, and help us in our mental health. I think it was Leonard that said all of us have mental health issues. Either it's good, either it is good or it's bad. We still have it. I am not no expert, so I am going to be introducing to us now the lady of the night, our guest speaker, and a person who can direct this conversation and speak to us in regard to mental health from a professional point of view. So our speaker tonight is Miss Jenna Waite. Jenna Waite is a renowned school counselor and creative facilitator from the Garden Parish of St. Anne's. Big up all the St. Anne's people in here tonight. She has served over 5 schools in Region 3 and 4, ranging from infant and primary to junior high schools, and unattached youth through several art initiatives. Wonder if Jenna can give me a link. Anyways, a passionate youth worker and social worker, she had led numerous youth camps and youth upliftment programs locally and internationally through her association with organizations such as Youth for Development Network, Partner for Youth Empowerment, and the Bob Marley Foundation. She's a proud graduate of the Westwood High School and the Northern Caribbean University, NCU, where she pursued psychology, social work, and family life education. Ms. White has served many committees and external organizations in her efforts to promote the well-being of people everywhere. She's a sought-after keynote and personal professional development speaker who lives by the mantra, when you get, give, when you learn, teach. Once you encounter Miss Jenna Waite, you will find her to be very humble, modest, friendly, and an inspiring individual who has no difficulty interacting with people from all walks of life. She's a proud mother of Taji and Alyssa, because them everywhere with them there, and author of the book A Crossing Over, a poetic journey of self-development. Miss White aims to transform as many lives as she can through her trained and natural skills, and can otherwise be found in her garden or hidden behind an interesting book. With that said, guys, I now hand over the program to our keynote speaker, Miss Jenna Waite.
Thank you very much, Mr. Livingston. I like the vibe a lot. And thank you, of course, to the New Jamaica Foundation, not just for your invitation, but for starting this movement, which based on the explanation given when you were explaining what it is about, I would love to say that it is a movement. All right, so thank you very much. Who got the credit? Are you hearing me well?
Leonard, and I think it was who? Natalia? I think so.
Yes.
Okay, Leonard.
My new friends. They're my new friends, Leonard and
Because
Natalia.
they have credit, right?
Yes.
Okay, I figured that as much. Let me just try to figure out my camera. Okay. All right, so 17. How are you? How is everyone? Good. Raise your hand if you're feeling fine. Raise your hand. Let me see. In the chat, of course. You know to raise your hand online? Two hands, three hands, four. Okay, so 5 of us are feeling fine. Raise your hand if you're feeling not so good. Not so good. Yeah, all right. You know, poco poco. Safia? I think Safia hand was up from before, actually. Right, okay. Okay. All right. Well, I hope by the end of our time together that we'll have more persons feeling a little more fine than they are now. All right. So thank you for the privilege of your ears and your minds for the next couple minutes. And thanks to the coordinators, of course, for their invitation. Thank you for your welcome and introduction. I love it when young people are moving. All right. As I thought about the theme, that is one of the questions. Let me ask a question. I don't have any credit, but what's the theme for tonight's program? Anybody can tell me? That's not anybody who is not a part of the New Jamaica Foundation can tell me the theme. Anybody?
Good night. So I think the theme is mental health, for me business, for we business, all our business, or something
All
along that
right.
line.
Yes, Misha K, you are right. I think she deserves something. I'll leave it up to Livingston and the team to decide. But yes, for we business, all our business. That's what mental health really is about. And I want to start off by saying that when we are using mental health for the rest of our conversation together, bear in mind that we're going to be talking about our brain health, just to make it what's the word, simpler for us. We are going to say that mental health is talking about brain health. When we talk mental health, we're talking about brain health. And without apology, I like to say that this is the most important aspect of our health. If you want to debate me on that, we can go after the program, but your mental health, your brain health is the most important aspect of your health. Why? Because this is your control center. This is your control center. This is where all the instructions come from for everything else that goes on in your body. All right. So you notice if anything is broken, any device is in need of repair, they'll always go to the control center to figure out why my screen behaving like this, why the fridge stopped working, you know. All right, so mental health is our brain health, and it's the most important aspect of our health. And if you don't remember anything else and you remember that, you will still be well on your way to having um, optimal mental health. All right, so let's take a bit of a stock. What we like to take stock, like when you have shop and you take stock, it's Friday evening, and we're going to take stock of what's going on. And on a personal level, let's start there. This is a really personal matter. It's personal for me, and I'm sure that it's a personal matter for you, because when somebody gets in your brain, yes, Leonard, when somebody gets into your mind, that's really where things can go really well or really bad. Right? So it is a personal matter. And it's so important that we talk about things like these. And that's why I just want to pick up this team, because it is so important that we are here this evening, that we sift through and find, solid ground, even amidst the uncertainty of the present times. So I'm quite supportive of this move. All right. So, yes, big up to the team. So as we look at FUI business of mental health, we think about how can we remain mentally healthy people. And if we take a little walk around in our homes and maybe, climb our family tree, we will come to certain truth, certain realization. We will see certain things presenting themselves. We will probably see things like addiction, right? We'll probably see things like Alzheimer's. We'll see other things like maybe even suicide. We'll see a number of mental issues taking place. Yes, Mr. Mason, we'll see depression. And at first, we probably don't even know what that looks like, or we don't know that, say, mommy depressed. Because as a country and culturally, we are at the tip of the iceberg as it relates to really talking about mental health, or really focusing on mental health like that. All right. So in Jamaica, we are way behind on this topic. And so we don't readily pick up when somebody is struggling with mental health issues, because we make so much fun about it and we deal with it in a way that it doesn't educate children, but rather it ridicules the person and makes the person feel less than and their family, because for us everything is, oh, the person mad, which is not necessarily the case. All right. So when persons struggle, we find that in Jamaica, it is very hard for them to come and say, hey, I'm having an issue. I'm really struggling with this, or I'm really struggling with that, because of the culture around the conversational culture around mental health, we feel like if me tell her, say, me I think them something here and I can't control it, then probably them are gonna send me to a madhouse, or probably this, or probably that. All right. And so we do not get to engage people as much as we really should because of some real cultural issues that we have going on. So bear that in mind as we take stock. We can take stock of that. That's one reality. All right. That's one reality, is that culturally we have a lot of misinformation about mental health. For example, let's look at the first one. When we talk about mental health, we tend to go into mental illness. You see that? We tend to go into mental illness rather than really going into how can I preserve my mental health. So if you think about getting physically fit, for example, let me see who's here. Malik. Malik, sorry, let me put this on. If you think about getting physically fit, what are some things that you might do to get physically fit, Malik? Bam, exercise, right? That's what Leonard said. Eat healthy, bam. All right. What else? And eating healthy, taking a lot of things. All right, we can dance. All right, so many things. But when you talk to persons about how can I stay mentally healthy, you realize that people start to, what we call it now, buck. They can't fully answer and say, wait, what do I need to do to be a mentally healthy person? What a mentally healthy person look like walking down the street, different from somebody who is not. All right, so we realize that we don't have enough information because we don't easily spew out the answers to being mentally healthy as we would if we say, oh, let's get physically healthy. All right, we know what to do. We're gonna start workout same time. We're gonna throw away the sugar. We're gonna do this. We're gonna drink a lot of water. All right, we're gonna buy the what I see that you know the teas and all of these things that we want because we say, oh, we want to be trim, we want to lose fat here, or we want to gain it there, and all of that. And we have solutions. But when it comes down to mental health, then we struggle. All right. So one of the and we take shortcuts too. Yeah, that's a shortcut. Leonard said lipo. Um, but one of the things about what we just did when we said we take stock, is that we realize that that is what really makes us all the same. So I want you to remember that when you thought about your family a while ago and the things that generationally you have witnessed, or your neighbor or somebody close to you, you have seen it somewhere. That is what makes us all the same. Is that, hey, guess what? Somewhere along the line, somebody we know has struggled with maintaining their mental health. All right. Somebody along the line has struggled with that. And now in a pandemic, it's skyrocketed because we're not gonna beat around the bush. We were not being mentally healthy before the pandemic. That's the truth. That is the dead truth. But no, what has happened is that the pandemic has sort of, let's see how we put this now. It has put us in a place now where it highlights to us just how lacking. So we're not ready yet to deal with the real mental health issues that are out there. And as it highlights that, we also realize that the numbers are rising rapidly. So those are some truths, those are some facts about what is really, really going on as it relates to mental health. All right. So persons might draw for a lot of statistics and numbers and said, definitely. I mean, if you tell you, Natalia, all right. Person might draw for a lot of statistics when you're talking about mental health, and they're quick to talk about the number of persons that are suffering from this and 1 in 5 and all of those things. But I like to flip the script a little, and I'd like to say, yes, those are a truth. But what if 5 out of 5 of us started working on our mental health? What if all of us started deliberately, intentionally working on our mental health? Because that is what has to happen. We have to decide to change the narrative. Otherwise, this is it's going to just keep repeating itself to your children, to everybody. So if 5 out of 5 of us are definitely working on our mental health, just like if all of us are working on our physical health and it's a priority, less of us would be diabetics, less of us would have hypertension and all of those illnesses that you can think about. So it's the same thing for mental health. If 5 out of 5 of us are working on this thing, can you imagine how different we would look as a people? Can you imagine how different we would be, how we would be treating each other, how we would be treating ourselves? So flip the script and think about, okay, if we are all working on our mental health, as opposed to if we're focusing on the mental illness numbers, what difference would it make? All right. So that's something for you to really think about. So mental health and mental illness are not synonyms. All right. Just bear that in mind. Um, and let's be frank. We know that it's not an ABC thing. We know that it's not a walk in the park when we're talking about we're going to maintain our mental health or improve on our mental health. It's not a walk in the park. But we also know something else. It is simple, not easy, simple. It's so simple that when we hear what we need to do to improve our mental health, we probably take it for a joke and be like, nah, that couldn't, like when you're in class and the answer is in your head, but you're thinking that teacher looking for something so complex that you're afraid to say the answer because you feel like that could never be the answer. It just is too simple for it to be the answer. That's the same way that people think about mental health. They think, no, sir. I think if me do that, it's like a result in this. All right. It's so simple. What does it look like? Let's talk about what does being mentally healthy for business look like. So it might look so well, let me throw it out there. What do you think this might look like? Being mentally healthy. What does a mentally healthy person look like in your mind? What are they doing? Cutting off toxic relationships. All right. I see you, Livingston. What else?
They try to find ways to feel good about themselves.
What does that
They
look?
don't feel negative emotions like fear, jealousy, anger.
How does one do that? Who just spoke? Who just spoke?
Well, by just feeling comfortable with other people or situations.
All right. So you're saying that they try to avoid negative thinking, negative thoughts. I'm seeing in the chat, renouncing all negativity, focusing only on the positive and pursuing it. All right. Thank you, Mason.
On the way.
Didn't hear that last part. All right, I guess they're breaking up. Misha K, I love how the males are stepping up to this conversation. Misha K, can you give us something on that? What does that look like to you? A mentally healthy person. All right, I'm not hearing Misha K. What about you, Sophia? Go ahead, Jonna and Davy. Go ahead.
Mental, well, good mental health looks like, I don't know, being confident in yourself, doing what feels good to you, taking time out of your busy schedule to, have it like me days or me time, just block out the noise of everybody and everything around you and just say, okay, time to breathe, time to relax, let's refocus, let's come back. That to me is good mental health. Oh, and being able to help others around you. Once you sorted out yourself, you can help others around you.
I love it. Thank you all for responding. And you notice what she just said. It sounds so simple, don't it? Taught the truth when she said breathing, relaxing. Does it sound simple to you? Be honest. It sounds real simple, don't it? And you're like, how is this gonna really help me? I'm breathing all the time. Do you know that people go weeks and don't breathe properly? You're probably not breathing properly this whole time. Do you know that? Because especially when we have anxiety or nervousness in our body, we're not breathing from the place we should be breathing, which is our, we're breathing from our chest. So it's like very short breaths. And when we do that, the oxygen is not getting to our brains properly. So everything is about to really shut down. And that is why you're agitated, you're even more anxious, you're fearful, and all of these things are happening. Sometimes it's as simple as biology. Sometimes it is as simple as, hey, stop and breathe. So, psychologists, therapists, or other behavioral workers say these things to us, and we think, what? Until we really get in there and start doing the work of getting our mental health together and start doing the breathing and taking those deep breaths, and we're like, oh, wait, what just happened? Right? All of a sudden now your blood is pumping the right way and you're starting to feel the way that you're really supposed to be feeling. You understand? So it's simple, but it's not easy. It's not easy because of one, the cultural issue that I explained to you before. This is not something you necessarily grow up seeing. So it's hard to figure out, what does that look like? What do I need to do really? You know, but once you get very curious about it, you will realize that you will start the work. So it can look something like being emotionally resilient. So you've heard about emotional intelligence, but there's also being emotionally resilient. All right. It can look something like being optimistic. So, being optimistic or positive is not just about, oh, the world is falling on around you and you're going to pretend as if it's not. That's not what it is. You can be realistic and be optimistic at the same time. All right. So, something is happening, and you may say something like, this is happening now, because it's true, it's happening now. That doesn't mean it's going to be happening next year. This is happening now. And just like I got through that other thing that happened, I think I'll get through this too. And I can't wait. You know what I'm saying? So you acknowledge the thing that's happening, ignore it and act like nothing is happening. All right. That can lead to problems. But you acknowledge that this is real and this is happening. But I think I'll be all right. But I'm gonna ask somebody how to deal with it, or get something some way to figure out some way to cope. So you see the difference, right? Because I don't want you to think, oh, you just walk around and be positive and then that's going to fix everything. It fixes a lot, but you still need to be real. All right. It probably looks something like having amazing sleep hygiene. You ever hear that one before? Sleep hygiene? Talk to me. We heard about sleep hygiene before?
No, but I know I don't have it.
All right. You figure out instantly that I don't have sleep hygiene. You don't have good sleep hygiene. So all right. So Mason said he's heard about it before, and it's almost self-explanatory, right? We know sleep hygiene is so important. Your brain really, remember we said mental health is what? Brain health. Your brain really needs to rest. It really, really needs to rest. So you have to rest. Even when you don't want to rest, you must. All right. And our bodies do this thing where it sends us signals. For example, if you're hungry, what might happen in your body? You might hear a little growling in your tummy. Not true. You might yawn. Person say they yawn when they're hungry. You definitely get miserable, and that's where the saying come from. Hungry man is an angry man, and your head start to hurt you. You get gas. Jamaicans say you get gas, and a lot of things start to happen in your body. Do you know what that is? Your body is talking to you, and your body always talk to you. Your body tells you when you're thirsty, or should I say your brain, but yeah, tells you when you're thirsty, when you're hungry, and it definitely tells you that you need to sleep, that it needs rest. All right, so you have to pay attention and you have to give the brain and the body what it needs. All right, so sleep hygiene important. Let's look at these simple but not easy daily habits that you can use to improve your MH, your mental health. So the first one is sleep. The second one is improving your social activity. So there are some of us who are introverts and we're so happy about the pandemic because we get to stay home all the time. We don't have to interface with people, and it's a introvert's paradise. All right, we can turn off our camera and just be there but not be there. But social activity is important. And this whole pandemic, if it hasn't taught us anything, has taught us just how much of a social people we really are. So we need connection. And we are living in a sort of world now where we constantly cut people off, or we just easily stop talking to somebody. We don't work through things like back in the day, which is not really healthy because going through things together is a part of how we develop deeper bonds with each other. All right, but everything is happening so fast these days. It's not, there's no time that is really passing, especially as it relates to young people. You meet somebody, you exchange numbers, and all of a sudden they're your BFF and you're talking to this person all the time. And now you feel like you know this person, but in reality, you don't know this person because so many persons are sending a smiling emoji when they are crying. And so many persons are sending a crying emoji when they're laughing. So it's hard to get to know somebody through a screen, even though it's great. So I'm not bashing, the internet and stuff like that, but social activity is so important. Getting out there, getting to know persons. And it's not just about friendships, it's about networks. It's about, oh, hey, let's do this and go here. And when you go there and somebody tries to connect with you, you're not in your phone all the time. So this physical connection cannot happen. All right. So it's being open to that kind of thing. And because of the times that we're living in, which is so much fueled by a lot of fear messages, especially through the media, persons are so afraid to connect. But that's a different conversation altogether. But your social activity is a simple thing that you can do. Um, One of the things, for example, I work I work a lot and I'll get away in work. And so a couple of years ago, I made sort of a pact with myself. And it's like every day I'll text my mom, I'll text my brothers, and I'll text my best friend every single day. All right. No matter how I'm feeling, no matter what I'm doing. So after I get up and I do, my morning routine, a part of my morning routine is connect every day. Yeah, connect is to connect. Like I have it in my morning routine, connect. So before the rush of the day starts, I would know that, okay, I've spoken to my mom already, because it might not happen in the evening, depending on when you get home and all of that. Because right now I'm not even home yet, right? So you have to put these things in there consciously, because of how things are now. There's so many things to distract you. I tell my students that I wouldn't want to be a student right now in these times, because I would be really distracted. I'm not going to lie. And that's why I'm quite lenient on students, because I know that this cannot be easy. It cannot be easy to be learning on the same phone that I have TikTok on. Nope. That's just too many distractions. All right. So I make it a point of duty to connect with these persons daily. These persons are important to me. I make a list. I make a list of these, but like these persons, they're important, very important to me. So regardless, you can lose your job at any time. Certain things can change at any time, but these people are your people. You see, those people, you need to decide, listen, I'm going to text those people every day, every single day. You understand? If it's even to send a funny video or something, but connect with them. All right. So they're social activities. So you need to do that. Remember, we're talking about the daily habits to improve our mental health. Um, Make time for yourself. And somebody said that earlier, when she was talking about relaxing and refocusing. You have to make time for yourself. Personally, if I don't make time for myself, I stop being myself. I have to make time for myself. It's like, when you're in an environment, persons are constantly talking to you, you have cases, you have this, you have so many things that you need to do. You have to step back and you have to come back and say, hold on, and refocus and take some time for yourself, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm talking about self. I'm not talking about girls' time or boys. I'm talking about you, just you. All right. You have to set boundaries. And this is simple, but this is not easy, especially when you're not used to setting boundaries. But setting boundaries is not just about you, it's about other people around you as well. Because every single thing that you do, you're teaching someone who you are about yourself and what they can expect from you. And so you want to ensure that you set up some boundaries for yourself to protect yourself and to protect others. What are we protecting others from, possibly? We're protecting others from a thing called dependency. You know that one there? Dependency. Like somebody, you're always available. You're always available to somebody. That's not healthy. That's not healthy. Being always available is not a good sign. You cannot be always available. And if you find that you're always available, then that means that something is missing. You're not balancing your life as well as you should. All right. So you have to help somebody to understand. For example, I remember texting my students at high school. I text my high school student and I said, can I call you at 5 o'clock this evening? And every time I do it, they're surprised, like, Miss, why are you asking me if you can call me? And I'm like, I mean, you could have plans. You're a human being. You can have plans. And when I call somebody, I I always try to ask, can you talk now? But my main thing is texting before I call, because people deserve respect. You should have your boundaries. And sometimes you have to teach other persons to create boundaries by the boundaries that you're creating. So you have to know, okay, when is the time that I'm going to do this? And when is the time that I'm doing this? And when is family time, when I'm having dinner? People respect people with boundaries. I'm telling you that from experience. And I'm telling you that from living a part of my life without boundaries and then living it with boundaries. So I'm not coming from a place of perfection. All right. I'm telling you that persons respect persons who have boundaries, who can say, hey, I'm going to have to call you back when I'm done having dinner. Is that all right? Yeah, just give me a few, let me call you back. You know what that means? That means that you're an important person and you value this time that you're having with your family, and which you should, because everybody in your life have their time, need their time with you. Sometimes we're so busy on the phone, we're always talking to that person who apparently has nothing else to do. And because of that, we cannot connect with our parents, we cannot connect with our children, we cannot connect with our siblings, because if they talk to us in any way, then we see it as them distracting us from this telephone conversation that you're having, that you can have at any time, really. But we feel this constant need to be entertained as a people now. All right. And that's not necessarily good for our mental health. So we want to connect with others and we want to set up boundaries. Definitely, I definitely put this like at number 2 is practicing gratitude. It's so important to practice gratitude, to just be grateful for the simplest of things. It redefines your life when you are grateful. Telling you that from experience, it is a must. Definitely, it is a must. And if you don't believe it, well, try it. I mean, everything that I'm saying, you can try it. If you don't find it useful, fine. But I'm telling you that being grateful is the best thing, is the best gift that you can give yourself and that you can give those around you and that you can give your brain, is to be grateful. Once you start being grateful, the things that you want will start to flow to you. I'm telling you. Um, be grateful for anything. Be grateful that you have eyelashes to protect your eyes. Be grateful that you can swallow. Be grateful that everything you can comb your hair. Be grateful that you can dance. Be grateful that you can have a conversation with some, love it, Natalia. You need those things in your life. You need to list as many things that you're grateful for every day, every second of every day. Just be grateful. It will change you. And you know the most important thing about it, nobody not have to know where you're going in your brain, it's a personal thing. So if you're walking around saying, so grateful for this lunch that I'm about to collect right now, I'm so grateful that I can zoom on to this thing and talk with Miss Jenna about mental health this evening. I'm so grateful that I can get a good night's sleep tonight. I'm so, just be grateful for anything. You can be grateful for the next step that you take, the next breath that you take. You can be grateful for anything. And I want you to do it. Just be grateful all the time. It will change you, trust me. And we're gonna talk about eating healthy. Eating healthy will definitely do a lot for your mental health. And you can do your research on this. As a matter of fact, they now have what they call nutritional psychology, where a lot of persons, instead of, when you think about going to a psychologist, you think, oh, I'll have to talk and I'll have to lay down on a couch, and you don't necessarily have to. A lot of persons have had their mental illnesses being treated by nutritional shifts, by stop eating something or by start eating something. And you can research that for yourself. It's a fact. A lot of the things that we put in our body really affect our brain. And we know this, really and truly, If we really stop and sit and think about it, we know that it does. Don't it? Am I telling a lie? We do for real know that what we eat affects us. When we drink alcohol, for example, lots of alcohol, because I mean, a little is fine, everything in moderation, right? But when we drink alcohol, for example, let's look at that, how we act different and we talk different and we feel different. What does that tell you? When we eat chocolate, when we drink a coffee, some people cannot start their day without coffee, and that tells you a lot. What you're eating and what you're drinking affects who you really are. And I'm not just talking about you getting overweight, I'm talking about your behavior, I'm talking about how you're thinking. Because some of these things that we're eating are high in caffeine, and then we go high, and then we come down low, 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 and we are having a depression phase, and then we do it again, and we go high, and then we come down low, and we don't even realize it. Somebody I drink too much Pepsi, because when I drink this Pepsi, I get very confused, very confused. All right. And our bodies, each person's body is different. So that's another thing. Each person's body is different. But importantly, I'm just gonna give you this tip. If your plate is not colorful, you're not doing it right. The more colors you have in your plate, the better. The better you know that you're doing at eating healthy. All right. So that's a simple tip, but it's everything. So colors, colors, colors. And once you have colors in there, you'll know exactly the foods that you're supposed to eat. There are persons I know that do not, definitely not Lucky Charms. That's funny. That's really funny. But you definitely want to ensure that you're having a lot of fruits and vegetables and as natural as possible that you can get. All right. Rice, bread, and things like those, sugar won't work. All right, so you want to cut down on those as much as possible. And you definitely want to hydrate. As my students would say, you either hydrate or you dihydrate. So hydrate all the time. Be drinking water, because that's flushing your system and getting you, feeling really refreshed. Having a shower gets you really refreshed as well. So when you get interested in your mental health, and if you are thinking about trying these tips that I'm sharing with you, you will start to do a lot of research, because whatever you're interested in, you're going to start researching that. You're going to find things about it on even TikTok or Google it, or you're going to find it wherever once you get interested in it. All right. So, and I really love for people to start the journey towards their mental well-being and getting there and get information, and you'll try things and you'll take that out and you'll revamp what you're doing, but start. All right. So you definitely want to eat healthy. You definitely want to read, because that is what is going to help the mind to stay sharp. And I'm not talking about reading people's status now. I'm talking about reading that helps you to reading things that you have to think about, that you have to comprehend, that you have to um explain to somebody else. It is good to be an interesting human being. um and when you read, you can go into so many different worlds just by reading about something. You see, one of the things that you need to do is to surprise yourself. So you might think, oh, I'm only interested in Free Fire and Burger King. That's me. But what if you you see something about China and you want to read up on it? Go in there and get in there and get information about these things. It doesn't have to be something that you're studying for. All right. It's just to keep your mind occupied. Sometimes you're reading and you're calling out the words and you're not even focusing on what you're reading, But the next day or the day after, you realize you're having a conversation, and all of a sudden you're talking about what you were reading about when you were just reading for the sake of reading. Because mark you, when you're working on your mental health and you're doing these simple things, sometimes it's going to seem like a drag. It's going to seem boring to, oh, every day I'm going to have to wake up earlier than before. I'm going to connect with these persons. I'm going to drink water. I'm going to read for an hour. And you might think, what am I going to read? I'm going to listen to. It's challenging, but it pays off. All right. Um, practice giving yourself grace. And this is the hardest one, I think. It's giving ourselves grace. It's like self-forgiveness, not being too hard on yourself when you make a mistake, when you didn't eat healthy today, when you did something that hurt another person, you know, whatever. When you went back into an old habit that you promised yourself that you wouldn't go back into. It's hard, but practice giving yourself grace. So positively talk to yourself, Jonathan. Say, okay, Jonathan, you did that today and you don't feel good about it, but you'll do better tomorrow. Mm? Self-soothe yourself. So there's an inner child in all of us that we really need to nurture, and that we really need to talk to very kindly, if you get what I'm saying. So the things that we're saying in ourselves to ourselves at times is not good things, if we're honest. And we wouldn't say that to another human being if we're kind. So stop and think, if I wouldn't say that to somebody else, why am I saying that to me? Like, I love me. I shouldn't be saying that to myself. You understand what I'm saying? So work on practicing grace and forgiving yourself even when you err, because we all do. We all do, darling. Trust me. So practice grace. Have realistic expectations. These are what can really affect our mind. When our expectation of ourselves and our expectation of others are not realistic. So we're expecting somebody to be perfect when in reality, we're not even perfect. We're growing and we're learning and we're fully flawed. All right. But we expect that this person is going to be perfect and has this, and, and then when the person does something that we deem imperfect, we cut them off. You know what I'm saying? That's not healthy. All right? That's not the healthy thing to do. So we have to have realistic expectation of people, because people are unhuman beings. And I would like for you to understand something as well. And this doesn't, I'm not saying to you that you should allow persons to hurt and abuse you. That's far from what I'm saying. What I am saying is, instead of looking at it as, oh, this person has done this and I am hurt and I cannot have this person in my space anymore because they have hurt me. I want you to understand the reality that a lot of what other people do have nothing to do with you and everything to do with them. And when you realize that everyone is on this journey that you are also on, as you try to figure yourself out, as you try to do better each day, everyone is on that journey too, but at different stages, then you will be more forgiving of others and more forgiving of yourself, because you will recognize that we're all just trying here. Mark you, if this person is at a place that is abusive to you and is causing you a lot of harm, don't expect it to stay in that space. But what I'm saying is, how you look at it, your perspective of it shouldn't be, oh, me, this person has done this to me. It should be, this person must be in a lot of pain to be dishing out so much pain, because persons cannot give what they don't have. So if I'm giving you pain, and I know it might not look like it might look like anger, and it might look like ego, and it might look like this, and it might look bad. but it's pain. If persons are giving that to you, that means they have it to give. So that person needs help. It's not about you, really. All right. So I want you to understand that as we talk about having realistic expectation. And somebody said it earlier, exercising. So exercising is one of those things that can almost instantly boost your mental health. Practice it. Don't be too hard on yourself again and have realistic expectations. So for me, I might say, okay, I, I'll at least do 10 squats per day. And sometimes, you know what that looks like? Sometimes that looks like when I get into the bathroom about to shower, I'm like, okay, quickly, 10, 10, and I do the 10. And I feel good that, hey, I did 10. So I might do 10 more when I get home or when I find some time. So don't be too hard on yourself. Start with small steps, but exercise, do something. You might say, oh, let me do 4 jumping jacks. That's what you can do. All right, start there. No problem. But move your body. Moving your body is important. Our bodies are made to move. You notice how easily we dance and how easily we get all excited, even though we're talking, we're gesticulating and we're carrying on. We are meant to move, all right? We're mobile beings. So move your body. Somebody talked about it before, breathing deeply. Taking the time to breathe deeply. Your abdomen should rise when your lungs fill with air. That's what it should be. So if you want to know if you are, then you can always place your hand on your tummy, and then when you breathe in, if you realize you're breathing in and your tummy going in, you're doing it backwards. All right, it should be coming out, and then when you are exhaling, it should be flattening. All right, so let's stop a moment. And can you do that for me now? Just take a deep breath. Put your hand on your stomach and just breathe in and out. I hope you did it right. All right. You can do like 6 breaths. Walk away when you feel like your mental health is being threatened. Hold on a minute. Let me call you back one moment and you just take your breath, get yourself together, and then you go in there. All right. So breathe. Watch your self talk. And we kind of went into that already around watching what you say to yourself. Watch what you say to yourself. I was listening to Les Brown. I don't know if any of you do listen to Les Brown. And he was talking about um, how he had to change his self-talk, like what he was saying to himself. And he said that he was going to give this presentation, and in his early days, because Les Brown is a renowned motivational speaker now, but he was going to give this presentation, and his self-talk was like, where are you going about? You're going to do a presentation. All the persons that presented before have their masters and have been to school and do this. Who are you? Why do you feel like you can do this? You don't you dropped out of school. You were labeled mentally retarded. You don't have any parents. And he was like, his mind was going on and on and on with this negative self-talk. And he had to say, shut up. I'm behind on my bills. I have to do this. I don't have a choice. So some of the times you really have to tell yourself, hey, be quiet. Be quiet with all that nonsense. All right. So you have to learn how to talk to yourself in a way that moves you and pushes you forward. All right. So watch your self talk, watch what you say to yourself. And celebrate the small wins, the little things that you do, like getting through today. Celebrate that. Like attempting the homework. Celebrate that. Like allowing somebody to have a conversation with you. Celebrate that. Because a lot of persons are, you know, struggling with simple conversations. Nobody knows your struggle. I don't know. But celebrate the little things that you do. Yeah, celebrate that, Natalia. All right. Every little step you make in the right direction, celebrate that. And you will realize that the more you cheer for yourself and celebrate the little things, the more you want to do these little things. All right. So celebrate those things. What are you doing daily to drain your mental health batteries? you might want to think about that. Some persons talked about it earlier. Um, you're having these conversations with persons who are not uplifting, who are not feeding, and who you're not able to penetrate them to say, hey, let's come off of that negative and let's move on to this positive. But you're in this surrounding, you're in this situation, or maybe you're in some cycle of, I'm going to do this again and see how it works. So you're doing the same thing over and over and you're not getting the results that you want, but yet still you're still doing it, right? Like eating crappy food. All right. So the things that you watch out for, the things that you're doing that are draining your mental health batteries, and they look like the opposite of what we what we talked about before. All right. So you want to watch out for those things. Um, just the next thing that I'll say as I wrap up, so that you can ask any question, is the more you learn is the more you need to take action. It is the more you need to protect others. It's the more you need to make room for other persons who are struggling. The more you learn about improving your mental health, the more, because they say a film business, a few business, a few business, all of business. You know, Tanya Stevens does this song where she says, any people who don't any people who don't spend enough to provide for the poor won't be able to spend enough to protect the rich. And then she say, you know, think poverty a poor people problem. Think again, a everybody problem. And it's the same thing here. Mental health is all of our problem, because when we do not protect other person's mental health and our mental health, their mental health will come affecting us. All right. Their mental well-being will affect us in some way or the other. All right. They'll knock on our door. So we have to try to break the chain of the trauma and not pass this on to other persons, you know, to children, and disembark the shame that's surrounding this. And I can't say enough how much I love the idea, because, you know, once you start having these kind of conversations, it's a good sign, it's a good move that people can have these conversations. It's important. So start the conversation. How are you feeling? Like, how are you really feeling today? Right? Because, you know, we'll always say, oh, I'm fine, when somebody asks, how you feeling? But maybe if you ask them, what make you laugh today? They'll stop and say, but after me not laugh from morning. You understand? And then you can get into the real conversation around, how are you then? Since you know, what kind of day have you been having? All right. So you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. Don't even mention laughter, Mason, because that is one of the cures. You know, find spaces where you can laugh. That's so important. So thank you for listening to me. I'm sure that you might have some questions that you want to ask. Right, Livingston, I think Livingston might monitor this segment, but thank you for listening as I just shared, you know, some tips around making mental health all our business.
No, man, we have to clap Miss Jenna. We have to clap Miss Jenna. That was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful session. Learned so much. I feel ready and ready to go. Absolutely, absolutely ready to go. So as Ms. Jenna said, I know that some of us would have some questions to ask, and I'm going to give you that opportunity to ask those questions now, so that Ms. Jenna can answer said questions. So go ahead with those questions. I think I'm going to be taking 5 for the night, and then we see where we go from that. I feel like some persons are typing the questions. That is why it's taking so long. But while while um while they type the questions, Jenna, I have some questions of my own and we will talk a little about mental health. But I want to ask you, what are the role that mental health play in our beauty standard? Probably be as with Black people or just human beings overall. Do you think that mental health or mental health plays a role in our beauty standard or how we conceive beauty?
Wow.
Well, personally,
Okay.
no, you can go ahead.
I'd like to hear you. Go ahead, Natalia.
Okay, I definitely think mental health or poor mental health has a huge role to play in our perception of beauty, because when you really look at it, the beauty standard these days, don't know about men, but I know about women, it seems to be unrealistic, manufactured, man-made, like with plastic surgery, all of the physical enhancements. And while, yes, I'm all for bodily autonomy and doing whatever you want to do to feel comfortable within yourself, there comes a point where, as a society, we have to ask, why is it that we are so unhappy with ourselves that we have to seek to go to these lengths to attain beauty standards that are just going to be pushed to even more unattainable lengths in the future? So it must come from, a joint or a mutual feeling of, being unworthy or not being good enough or pretty enough within ourselves. So I definitely think how we perceive beauty as a society is because we are somehow unable to just accept what we have naturally.
All right. All right. Thank you, Natalia. Um, so that comes with a lot of, spin-offs, the concept of beauty that we have. And how, as I said in the initial part of the presentation, how we deal with ourselves comes a lot from how we have been taught to deal with ourselves, or how we have been, cultured. And when I say cultured, I mean, from the home, I mean, at school, I mean, in society or community as a whole. All right. So we get messages, and when we get those messages, we interpret them and then we act accordingly. And that is how we learn to do everything. That is how we learn to talk to people based on watching, persons having conversations with each other. That is how we learn to be in relationships, and that is how we learn to deal with ourselves. So let's look at the media, for example. The media tells us a lot about, or should I say, is the not just the media, but is one of the ways that we get information about beauty, or is a very impactful way of how we get information about beauty. When we're going to school as well, we get information about beauty, and other persons tell us what makes somebody beautiful or what makes somebody not beautiful. So we'll say, oh, um, and I'm just speaking from my perspective. Your examples might be different, but we might say things like, well, we might talk about person's color, right? Even in Jamaica, we might talk about person's color, we might talk about person's hair, we might talk down about person's physical features, right? Am I right? And then you, as an onlooker, you're looking on and you're like, oh, okay, so I need long hair to be beautiful because short hair is not. So you get it. Something happens in your sight, or you observe something, and then you interpret it for yourself. and you say, oh, this is what this means. Therefore, I need extensions. You get it? You get what I'm saying, Natalia? So it's these messages and how we interpret them. It's also around what are your standards, what are your morals that you've been taught. So for example, let's say I grew up in church, and my parent was constantly telling me that that you're so beautiful, you're gorgeous, you're talented, you're this. Afterwards we're going to talk to ourselves that way, because we especially when it as it relates to our parents, we tend to talk to ourselves like our parents spoke to us. Right, until we can really come to ourselves and realize, okay, I don't want to use that anymore, or I want to keep using this. So we get these messages externally and we take them inside of us, and we decide, say, oh, this is true, because it's really the girl with long hair that gets the attention. And we can go into just how bad that has been, and into some historical things that make this such a deep topic to talk about, mental health, and beauty. But I would say, though, Livingston, that I feel like we're getting to a place where, especially as Black people, we are starting to recognize that, hey, nothing, absolutely nothing is wrong with how I look. But we keep getting these messages, and how we interpret them. So for example, you might have noticed something like this. You might notice that a Black man dating a white woman might behave or treat that person differently than he does a Black woman. Anybody ever observed that before? And you might think, okay, it's because she's white and I'm Black. Oh, it's because um she's soft spoken, and the messages that you get, not as a people, it's like, oh, you have an attitude. They have this thing about Black women have an attitude, but really and truly, is it an attitude, or is it that we're very expressive, and we do not allow persons to you know walk over us easily? And isn't that something that's wonderful? you know so we have to reevaluate what beauty means to us on a personal level, as we come into ourselves. And that is something that doesn't happen overnight, because we have been kind of brainwashed, I'm going to use that word, into believing that, hey, something is wrong with you if you don't look like this. But I see where a lot of Jamaican and African American women are really trying really hard to dismantle um those kinds of attitude towards beauty, and to re-inject you know a different perspective. For example, I know that Rihanna in her clothing line caters to women of all sizes, and color. And it's not just about, oh, I come from a rich family and I'm well known, so I can be a model and I'll be paid way more than everybody else because of that. Because you don't have to have any skill to do the thing. But more and more Black women and men are going out there and doing the work that is creating a different sort of narrative. So it has a lot to do with what we have observed, through the media and through societal experiences, Livingston. And I'm so tempted to go back into slavery, but I don't want to, because I know there are other questions. But you get the picture. So you have to stand up within yourself, and you have to come to grips with who you are, regardless of what is being said. All right. And I'll beg to say something else. I'll beg to say something else, Livingston, and I'm going to use a personal experience to show you something. And what I want to show you is that you have to decide what you're going to say about yourself. And if you look around, you'll realize that all of the persons who changed their life, they first started to declare to themselves that, hey, this is who I am. And you will find that even your religion at times may numb you and make you not realize that, hey, I'm not that. I am this. And you have to work your way through it. So I don't know if you've been in any religious setting and you've been talked to in a manner that suggests that you're dirty and you're evil, and the only reason that you're even here is because somebody's sorry for you. But when you flip the script and you look at it, you might say something, you might see a major difference when you look at it from the perspective of, say, all of this and I'm still loved. So I'm flawed, I'm still loved. Say God love me, though I'm in favorite. And you realize that you feel different. You feel different. So even things that are there to help us are or should help us feeling better. We have to sift our way through what we take in. And anything that you're taking in that does not feel good, you're going to know, because you're made that way. You're made in the way that, hey, if it don't feel good, you're gonna know, regardless of who it's coming from. All right. So personally speaking, those are some of the things that I've had to work through, and to really find statements that better align with who I am, or make me feel better within myself, so that I can be my best self. To focus on, hey, you're fearfully and wonderfully made. God said that. Is the person who made you said that. You do not go to persons who sell refrigerators to get answers about your phone. You go to persons who sell phone. You send it back to the Apple store. You send it back to the Samsung store or whatever to get this information. So, for example, if you're a person who believes in God, and you look to that spiritual side of yourself, you will find great definition. But sometimes it get covered up in what man says. How men want to twist it and to say, hey, you're evil and you're this and you're that. And if you look closely at the message that you're getting, that's not the message that you're really getting. It's being covered up by man's opinion. You understand what I'm saying? So you have to dig deeply and realize, say, boy, but if I'm created this way, just look at me. I have eyes, I can see, and no matter how I turn my camera, it can't take the picture like, oh, my eyes seeing it. You will realize that, boy, somebody spend a whole heap of time for me, You understand? And you start to see yourself in a different light. So you have to be careful about what you're taking in and what you're believing as to what other persons are saying about you. All right. I hope that answered your question.
Jenna, you answered the question and answered some more. Absolutely, absolutely amazing. Jenna, if you have any social media handle, I think it is best to plug it in the chat below, because I think that person will want to, have it so them can click it. You know, we live in the age of technology, even if they might forget. So if you put it in the chat below, and we can follow you and get these kind of droppings from you, will be lovely, lovely. So any kind of social media you have, put it in the chat below. I have one more question. I have one more question from my end, because we're um moving to that 9 o'clock mark. I have one more question, but I want to know if anybody else that is on the call right now have any other question that they would like to ask. Let me know before I ask my question, because I only have one more. General presentation was inclusive of everything that I wanted to ask, and kind of, hit the marker. But I have one more question, and it's a tip question that I would ask Ms. Jenna. But is it that anybody else on this chat right now would have any question at all? But Ms. Jenna, I will give you the chance to ask her that question. Anybody? Okay, so moving right along. So my question is, Miss Jenna, what are some of the tips that you can give to us uh, here we have, let me ask Mr. Mason question first. He said, how would you discuss mental health with family? And I think that this is a very important question, seeing that we live in the Jamaican sphere where mental health is not something that we talk about in our culture. How would you then advise us as students and young people, having that mental health discussion with our family? Very good question, Leonard.
Wow, you're right. This is a great question, and it's so it's what we like to call it sticky, because of the cultural issue. I think that one of the first things, or the first, the way to start is to have relationship with your family. So this is not something you can just dive into when you first meet a person. This is not something you're just going to dive into like that. And it's the same thing because some of us, we're so far from our parents, we're so far from our siblings because we haven't been connecting with them. We don't know what they like. We don't know how, we don't know anything. And some of us have even scarred relationships with our families, so it's not an easy task to say, oh, I'm going to bring up this topic, especially, well, regardless, even if it is that you're struggling or you figure that somebody else is struggling, it's so hard. It's so hard. It's yes, Natalia. Parents love to say, what could I not stress you out after you're not paying up bills? What? And when I have conversations with parents, I say, boy, you wouldn't even understand how stressed children can be. And the reality is that some of us, when we become parents, we forget that we were children. So some of the times I like to take the opportunity to remind parents that, hey, what were you doing when you were 19? Come on now. you know but it's so true. Parents get so busy trying to be that perfect example for their children that sometimes you don't take the time to realize that, boy, this isn't working out. Just level with the child, have a conversation. Some of our parents cannot have these conversations. And remember, we talked earlier about having realistic expectations. So every parent is not at the place where they can have this conversation, because remember, this is something that has been passed on and passed on and passed down properly. And even sometimes when you think say it never reach you, when you become a parent, you realize that, well, and the same thing this me I said to my child, where me promise myself, say me would have never do, or me would have never say, because generational trauma, it passes, it's slicking up, it's just in there. Some parents, there's almost no right way to bring up this conversation, because any angle you take it from, you're in a you're in a problems. So we're gonna be realistic about that. All right. But I would say build a relationship with them first. Try to build on that first. Try to get in there where you can have a conversation, even in joke. So many times I have corrected my children using humor, and they don't even realize that I planted a seed. I planted a seed there, but I said it in a joke, but it's like the next time they'll remember, because I said it in a joke that didn't embarrass them. They laughed, I laughed, everybody laughed. But it's like they make a mental note that, okay, So there are so many ways that you can do it. If your parent is somebody that you can use humor to talk about it with. If your parent is somebody that you can write a letter, if what gets them. So first you have to try to understand this person before you can say, X or Y or Z to that person. And as young persons, I'm taking it that you're like 18, 19, probably that age range. And that's a very serious range, because you're trying to figure out so much in that space in time. They say in your 20s is when you make all of your mistakes, and in your 30s, 40s, you try to correct them. And it's true, we do so much stupid stuff when we are that age, but no parent really wants to see their child, especially do the things that they did, you know, because it's that natural instinct to protect the child. So I would say get to know your parent. When you get to know them, you will have an idea of what works for them. You need to study everybody that you come across. You have to study your teachers. You have to study your friends. What I mean by this, just observe these people. Find out what made a person upset. What get a person, what this teacher wants from me. And once you find out what they want, what gets them, then I believe that you can find an in. You find a thing to get them, to get into their space, to get into their good, a good comfortable spot where you can say, okay, yes, now is a good time because um
No, but I think it's very good that the notion of school came up on teacher, because my last question is, what are some of the tips that you would give to us? Most of us, we are going to school and trying to navigate this whole pandemic thing and this whole mental health thing. What are some of the tips that we give to students in handling our mental health?
all right, so one of the first tips that I would advise is don't let things pile up. Letting things pile up is our favorite way of frazzling our mental health. All right, so we wait until the last minute to do things, and then really stressed we feel really stressed out. All right, and then we might get into all sorts of things with all sorts of people, maybe our parents, maybe our friends, maybe our teachers, and we're starting to blame persons. So schedule your time properly. Have a time when you do everything. You understand? Have your goals. That's so important when you're talking about mental health. Have goals for yourself. What am I looking forward to? Because the concept of hope is important in your mental health. It is losing hope that causes a lot of persons to really fall mentally ill. All right, so you want to ensure that have something to look forward to. You want to connect. You want to connect with persons. Get involved socially, get involved in clubs. You don't want to go, but still go on. You understand? Get involved. That's a good way. A lot of the times persons just need a different sort of environment. So if you go into the tourism club and the drama club, it might feel annoying to you, but you'll be surprised. You're gonna meet new people, you're gonna expand yourself, right? Because you're going to be doing things that, all right, so somebody said the debate club saved me. All right, so remember earlier when I talk about, it's not all the time somebody needs a coach and to talk. A lot of the time somebody needs to be engaged on a different level. All right, somebody needs to go out there and do a beach cleanup, and that will bring you so much joy. You're talking and you're meeting somebody, and you understand what I'm saying? So don't be afraid to go out there, get involved. Um, do something, a scholarship come out and you're like, oh, I'm not gonna get it. Write it anyway. Write what they want. You understand? And apply. Do some things that stretch you. Do some things that scare you. All right, because you might be afraid to say X or to say Y or to raise your hand and to ask a question. Do it. Push yourself, challenge yourself. You understand? Of course, you definitely want to do the other things that I talked to you about, right? Livingston, like you want to eat the proper things them, and you want to get your sleep, and you want to surround your people who surround yourself, sorry, with people who are good for your mental health. And it might be hard. And when you say cut people off, I'm going to advise you to do it in a way that is still a loving way. Right? So I like to say, leave people better than you found them. So you might realize that, boy, say, Livingston, this thing with me and you, it's not working out for me. But I want to see you excel. I want to, so if anything comes up and you need my assistance, you can still let me know. You understand what I'm saying? Because when you cut off somebody aggressively, it also bothers you because you feel incomplete, like, oh, and you can't go back to the situation. You can't go back to the situation because of how you left the situation. All right. So you want to give people grace, as I suggested before. And when you're leaving certain situations that are not good for you, leave in a way that uplifts yourself and the other person. So the other person will feel like, why? Me, I want a terrible human being, right? Um, helping others. Helping others is such a mental health high. Helping others help you. So do something for somebody. It could have been a neighbor, It could have been the person that doesn't talk in class. And you might have a ton of friends, but you realize that this person, talk to them, say something nice. Normalize just saying nice things to people. And it's not you wanting anything, or it's not you, trying to get anything from the person. It's just like, hey, I like your hair. You change your hair. I like your hair, man. Good. And you're going about your business. And it would be almost as if you gave yourself a compliment, just how good you're going to feel watching that person feel good. So come up with creative ways, all sort of things that help others is also a good boost. You're never too busy. You're really never too busy to do that. All right. Be an inspiration and motivate. Exactly. All right. You want to do those things. So I would suggest um connect, connect, connect. Keep connected with your family. Keep connected with your friends. You see your family, sometimes you get to the stage where you're going to university and so forth, and you feel like, oh, I'm focusing on my friends now and this keep connected with your family. Remember, I tell you that if you have a smaller sister or a brother or a bigger one, try to keep connected with them some way, somehow, and to your parents, because these relationships are forever relationships. And if you make them good ones by nurturing them, you will realize just how rewarding they are to you. So those would be my tips.
Thank you so much, Ms. Jenna. I think everybody would have understood and taken away from all that you have said, from the presentation and from those little gems that you gave us. Just know, I know for a fact that I will have to probably rethink my position in cutting off people, because I just normally cut them off and let them where they are. But I will revisit that practice and make it more holistic for myself and for them. I usually just cut them off and let them release them in the first place. But I can't do that again because Ms. Jenna said we have to do it in a very, positive, holistic way. Thank you so much for that. Our
Right.
team,
Leave everybody better than you found them. Leave
exactly.
everybody better than you found them. And also, if you, well, you can find a mentor. Find a mentor.
Fine. I
Yes.
take it on my notes, I take it on my notes, and I hope that everybody else and because it's taking on their notes as well, find a mentor. And as I said before, Ms. Jenna, if you have any social media platform, please let us know. Please let us know so that we can reach out to you and talk to you. I know that many persons probably don't want to speak on, in such a space, but they want to ask you one away. And I have some questions that I would want to ask you myself, but not in this space as well. But it was, yes, it was absolutely a beautiful, beautiful presentation. I learned so much. We learned that, if you want to take care of yourself, you have to schedule in sleep. You have to set boundaries for your friends, for your family. You set that boundaries so that it is more comfortable for yourself. You have to eat healthy. And you have to exercise. And we also learned that it's not wrong for you to talk to yourself every now and then. Work out the situation in your mind. We learned that from the presentation, and I know that it was welcome. We're about to go down into our examination time, and a forum like this could have not come at a better time. And we're very, very thankful for the New Jamaica Foundation and the organizers of this forum. I want to invite us out tomorrow night for the second part of this event. So it's a two-part event. this one, and then tomorrow night, and I'm inviting you guys out for tomorrow night as well. I know for a fact that we're going to learn a lot from this presentation, and we have more for you tomorrow night. So invite your friend and your family and your person and your best friend where you know say need the talk. Bring them here. It's a safe space. And I sent it in the chat below. You can follow New Jamaica Foundation at our Instagram. Just follow us right there. I think I sent it in the group. Follow us so that you can stay updated with everything that we are doing. Now, I want to add another thing. It's a two-part event where we're going to be talking and having conversation, candid conversation as this one, but there's also a challenge that is attached to this seminar, and it's the mental health seminar, film business, fear business, our business competition, and it is a creative competition where creatives, so if you can sing, if you can write a poem, if you can write a song, I don't know where you're going to put a dance, like, no. Anyhow, you're creative and you can incorporate it. I don't put it out of the Jamaican scale because we're very, very creative people. So any way that you can incorporate this, your piece must have the phrase mental health, family business, fear business, all our business. It must be in there somehow. So I don't know how you're going to put that. You will find it out. You will find it out. You will work it out because you guys are very, very, very creative. So for you to enter into the competition, these are the rules. As I said before, your piece must have the phrase in it: mental health, family business, fear business, all our business. It must not exceed 1 minute, so you can tell a friend them and everybody to come and participate in the challenge. It must not exceed 1 minute because I want to upload it on the Instagram. And you can either choose to upload your video on your social media platform and tag New Jamaica Foundation, or you can submit it to the New Jamaica Foundation Instagram, and then we will upload it from that from the page. I'm being told that it's only one submission that will be accepted per person. So if you want to boost up your winning, tell your friends them to come and vote so you can split the winning. And the rule for deciding the winner is who get the most like, and in internet currency, one like equal one vote. So your voting ends rather on Friday, December 4th at 12 noon, and the winner will be announced at 8 p.m. on December 4th, 2021. So right after this session, right after the session tomorrow, when you learn more about mental health and you're more aware, then you can create a story down that line, submit it to the New Jamaica Foundation Instagram, or you can post it for yourself and tag us, and then we will judge it from. And as I said before, it's a life currency type of situation. But I'm being told that there's a stipulation. You must be following the New Jamaica Foundation page for your submission to be deemed valid. Right? So make sure you follow the page, and whenever you win, whoever win, remember that my name is Deontay Livingston, and we are all friends now because we're associated with the New Jamaica Foundation. So whatever you win, you can just share it with me. If you need a director for your video, for your piece or your script, or an editor for your videos, you can reach out to me as well. Right? So that is the competition. When you come back tomorrow, tomorrow night for the second half of the event, then you learn more about the challenge itself. But it has been lovely, sitting here learning about mental health with you guys. And this situation have just showed me that, you know what? When God said you have to move because it was absolutely a beautiful, beautiful experience. Big up Miss Jenna every time. Her presentation was delightful to hear. Mic check. You guys are everybody hearing me?
Yeah, we're hearing you.
Oh, okay. I was told that you guys weren't hearing. But as I was saying, beautiful, beautiful experience. Love it. And I'm going to is Joel here? Oh, sorry guys.
I'm here.
Okay, so I'm going to be handing over to Joel Morgan, who is going to be giving us our vote of thanks. And this is the last that you guys will hear from me. Over to you, Joel.
Hi, good night, everyone. So just to add to what Deontay was saying, thank you to the NJS team for planning this event. It was really well needed, especially when exams are stressing us out and many of us have assignments to submit. So it was a well needed message. Thank you, Deontay, for hosting this event. And also a special thank you to Miss Jenna Waite, who spoke to us about mental health and its importance and how we should take care of our mental health. And most importantly, encouraging us to take care of ourselves and to love ourselves and ensure that we see ourselves in a positive way. So I would also like to thank you, the attendees, for coming out to the event and showing your support and inviting other persons, because without you, we wouldn't even be able to have this event. So thank you all for attending, and back to Deontay.
Thank you so much, Miss Morgan. You guys are hearing me?
Yes.
Lovely, lovely. Thank you so much for that, Miss Morgan. And again, thank you everybody that would have turned out and be with us tonight. It was a lovely night. I know that we learned a lot, and I know that Jenna just creating a space where we can well advise and have conversation, creating a safe space. Thank you, New Jamaica Foundation, for creating that safe space where we can just talk and be ourselves and be used and be happy. It's not all the time that we can create that space. Thank you guys, and see you guys tomorrow night. Same time, same place. All right.
Okay, thank you guys for hosting this event. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.